Listen to me. Listen, I'm going to talk. No, you're going to listen to me. I'm going to hang out the phone. That's it, okay? And there's also a bomb in Grand Blanc Township family, Catholic Church, okay?
One person told police they could hear the shooter say, "Shoot me, I surrender, shoot me." When the man didn't drop his weapon, the officer shot and killed Thomas Sanford.
Say the gunman had in his truck 4 IEDs, or improvised explosive devices. They say 2 seem to be made of multiple commercial-grade fireworks kind of taped together, and then 2 were designed to create a lot of smoke.
On a Sunday morning in Michigan, families were praying, kids were sitting beside their parents, and nobody expected violence. But at 10:25 a.m., peace was shattered. Not by an accident, but by a man who came in with hate, gasoline, and a plan. This is the story of Thomas Jacob Sanford, and the lives forever changed the day he turned the church into a crime scene.
From above in Grand Blanc, Michigan, investigators comb charred rubble looking for a motive in Sunday's attack on a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
The FBI is investigating this as an act of targeted violence.
Can you tell us who you believe the target was? A specific person, the LDS Church, another group? As
of right now, again, as this is an ongoing investigation, what I would say is when I say targeted violence, I mean targeted within our state and within our community.
Thomas Jacob Sanford was 40 years old, a Marine veteran, a husband, and a father. And on September 28, 2025, he became the perpetrator of one of the most disturbing church attacks in modern Michigan history. Thomas Sanford was born July 29, 1985, and lived in Burton, Michigan. After graduating high school, he joined the United States Marine Corps, serving from 2004 to 2008. He reached the rank of sergeant and was deployed to Fallujah, Iraq, one of the most violent war zones in the Iraq War. His job involved vehicle recovery operations, pulling damaged and disabled military vehicles out of the active combat zone. Friends say when he came home, something had changed. After leaving the Marines, Sanford moved west. Between 2008 and 2011, he lived in Park City, Utah, where he entered a serious relationship with a woman described by those around her as devout, extremely religious, and deeply committed to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. At first, the relationship seemed promising, but according to Sanford's former landlord and friends, religion quickly became a point of conflict. Sanford reportedly felt intense pressure to convert to the LDS faith in order to stay with her. That pressure allegedly included expectations that he would remove his tattoos, something Sanford strongly resisted. The relationship didn't just end, it ended badly. Friends say when Sanford left Utah and returned to Michigan, he was in a rough mental shape, angry, bitter, and carrying unresolved resentment. And that resentment didn't fade with time. According to the investigators and people who knew him, this failed Utah relationship marked the beginning of Sanford's deep-seated animosity towards the LDS faith. What started as anger towards one person slowly transformed into something broader, an obsessive hatred of the church itself. By the week leading up to the attack, Sanford was reportedly referring to church members as the Antichrist. What's important here is this. Authorities found no evidence that the woman from Utah had any current connection to the Michigan church. Instead, investigators believe that Grand Blanc Township Chapel was chosen as a symbol, a local representation of the faith Sanford had come to hate for over a decade. By the time of the attack in 2025, Sanford had been back in Michigan for more than 10 years. He was married to a high school acquaintance and was raising a 10-year-old son. Friends also described struggles with substance abuse and lingering post-military issues, but none of that ever reached the breaking point anyone could see. Until it did.
Through the Freedom of Information Act, we have obtained the 911 recording and call log. We are learning the man accused of shooting and setting the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints on fire also called 911 minutes before he crashed his pickup truck into the church.
Genesee County 911.
Hey, I want to report it was a bomb in the Mormon temple in Birmingham.
That call came in at 10:21 and 25 seconds on September 28th, 2025. Police identify that caller as Thomas Jacob Sanford. The man investigators say attacked the Church of Latter-day Saints as people were inside. He calls 911 and reports there are bombs at multiple churches. The dispatcher tells him to hold on.
No. Listen to me. Listen, I'm going to talk. No, you're going to listen to me. I'm going to hang out the phone. That's it. too, okay? And there's also a bomb in Grand Blanc Township family, Catholic church, okay?
The 911 call into Genesee County Dispatch is less than 2 minutes.
It's the River Church in Birmingham, the Mormon Temple in Birmingham. Birmingham Mormon Temple is very important, okay? That's very important, that one there, okay?
He also mentions the River Church on Perry Road and then tells the dispatcher,
I'm going to hang up the phone now, okay?
What is your name?
Hang up. No.
The first call from a victim came into Genesee County 911 at 10:25 and 32 seconds. Police, they arrived on scene in less than 2 minutes. Now, by 10:33 that morning, Sanford was involved in a shootout with officers and he died. The FBI concluded that the attack was a targeted act of violence against the Mormon religious community. Grand Blanc Township Police Chief William Rennie tells me investigators believe Sanford's 911 call was an effort to divert law enforcement away from his actual target, the LDS Church.
Sunday morning, September 28, 2025, the LDS Chapel in Grand Blanc Township, Michigan, was filled with worshipers, families, elderly members, and children. At 10:25 a.m., Thomas Jacob Sanford rammed his Chevy Silverado pickup truck through the front doors of the church. Glass shattered, people screamed, pews turned into cover. Sanford stepped out of the truck carrying an assault rifle and opened fire on the congregation. Within moments, 4 people were killed and at least 8 others were wounded, including a 6-year-old child. But the gunfire wasn't the end. Sanford poured gasoline inside the building and set the church on fire. Flames spread rapidly. Smoke filled the sanctuary. Parts of the chapel collapsed. Later, investigators from the ATF discovered improvised explosive devices made from consumer-grade fireworks and smoke canisters, found both in Sanford's truck and on the church property. Authorities concluded the gasoline was the primary accelerant, but the presence of IEDs showed the attack was planned, layered, and intentional. Police arrived within minutes. Sanford moved into the parking lot still armed. Officers ordered him to drop his weapon. He refused, a shootout followed, and approximately 8 minutes after the first 911 call, Thomas Jacob Sanford was shot and killed by law enforcement.
Thomas Jacob Sanford, the suspected shooter, called 911 before the attack. The report states this 911 bomb threat call came in at 10:21, which was identified from past calls as belonging to Thomas Jacob Sanford. The report states the caller was a male who made bomb threats towards several local area churches and specifically described Mormon churches as being important. Sanford never referred to the church on McCandless Road, but about 2 minutes later, it's believed he crashed his pickup truck into the church. While some in the church believed it could have been an accident, the report shows people quickly realized it wasn't. One person yelling, "Get out of the building. It was on purpose." Then the person heard another yelling, "He drove right into the building on purpose." Another told police they saw Sanford breaking out the glass door. He was shooting the glass, kicking it, and using the gun to break out the broken glass from the door frame. The male didn't enter the chapel, but walked down the hall that most of the congregation was using to exit the building. A woman telling police a suspect came up to her while pointing the gun at her and asked, "Do you believe in Jesus Christ or Joseph Smith?" Smith was the founder of Mormonism. She stated she told the suspect approximately 5 times that she believed in Jesus Christ, and the gunman let her go without injury, but she saw the man shoot another person. There are acts of heroism from many as a woman was running outside and realized she had been shot and told police she thinks she passed out. She knew that at some point an unknown person put her in the bed of a pickup truck. The person got her to the hospital. As police began the investigation and tried to determine how many victims there were, one officer arrived at Henry Ford Genesis Hospital. Frustrated, the hospital would not give him information on those injured, stating this lack of cooperation severely hampered our ability to locate missing victims, determine a casualty count, and allocate investigative resources. As we've reported in the past, Sanford had been goose hunting on this property in the Goodrich area before the attack on the church. The person he was goose hunting with was questioned by authorities. As a Grand Blanc Township officer and a DNR conservation officer confronted the suspect outside the church, one person told police they could hear the shooter say, "Shoot me, I surrender, shoot me." When the man didn't drop his weapon, the officer shot and killed Thomas Sanford.
The attack was over, the damage was not. 4 lives were lost, elderly church members who came that morning simply to worship. Every survivor carries scars. Because Sanford died at the scene, there was no criminal trial. On November 1st, 2025, the FBI officially classified the attack as an act of targeted violence driven by anti-religious beliefs toward the LDS Church. Federal agencies investigated whether Sanford acted alone and how he acquired the weapons and material used. In a moment few expected, members of the LDS community raised over $200,000 not for themselves, but to support Sanford's wife and 10-year-old son. They said it was an act of faith, an act of forgiveness. The story isn't just about one violent morning. It's about unresolved trauma, obsessive hatred, and what happens when anger is allowed to rot for years unchecked. 4 people lost their lives. Many more were forever changed. And the question that lingers is this: how long can hate sit inside someone before it looks for a place to explode? Now, we mentioned 4 people were killed by Thomas Jacob Sanford. The deceased have been identified through family members and verified fundraising efforts. Thelma Armstrong was 54 years old. John Bond was 77. Craig Hayden was 78. And Pat Howard was 77 years old. Rest in peace to the victims that lost their lives during this tragic event.